Hello everyone, my name is Jinjos, and welcome to my playthrough of Bageltop's Marble Legendary campaign. We have successfully completed Chapter 3, and we are moving into Chapter 4, where we will be adding in the Paint the Town Red expansion, and all things wonderful about Spider-Man, one of my favorite Marvel heroes. One thing I love about these campaigns is that the quality of the story just goes up and up, the meaningful choices go up, and it's just an overall better experiences by each chapter you go. This does lead to longer stories, which, while it's great for the player, reading them word for word for you guys can take up quite a bit. So to keep these videos at a reasonable length, I'll be summarizing most of the campaign notes. I also want these videos to encourage you to play through this campaign yourself, as it's very thematic and extremely fun. With that out of the way, let's jump right into Chapter 4, Paint the Town Red. This past year as a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent has tested your limits to an unprecedented degree. After a conversation with your superiors, you're given a small local assignment. After signing what seemed like 1 billion sheets of non-disclosure paperwork, you are presented with some shocking news regarding Spider-Man. He's just a kid. Spider-Man's true name is Peter Parker, a 17-year-old high school student living in Queens. As Spider-Man, he's assisted in S.H.I.E.L.D. efforts before and could potentially become an invaluable ally to S.H.I.E.L.D. as a future member of the Avengers. Problem is, his heroic endeavors have been negatively interfering with his personal life and could use some assistance. Your mission is to keep the delicate balance between aiding Peter Parker and keeping his identity a secret from almost everyone, even other members of S.H.I.E.L.D. You were given a dossier on Mr. Parker, which you were instructed to incinerate after reading. It's very informative. Parker has a girlfriend named Mary Jane Watson. Parker lives with his only relative, his elderly Aunt May. Under no circumstances will Parker let her know that he is Spider-Man. If she were to find out, Peter fears she might die from a heart attack or worse. Parker works for J. Jonah Jameson as a freelance photographer at the Daily Bugle. Parker is a student at Empire State University with a major in biophysics. Thanks to your previous efforts, there are now a plethora of heroes on S.H.I.E.L.D.'s contact list. As a result, you have been given permission to maintain a larger team of heroes in order to covertly assist Spider-Man. To keep up appearances, it is recommended that you recruit some heroes Parker is already close to. Write down team size 7. Until this is crossed out, your team expanded to allow 7 total heroes. To fill out the team, we add Nick Fury to the team. We then add another one of Spider-Man's allies, Iceman, to the team, replacing Deadpool. The next day, we make contact with Peter, who has a laundry list of things to do today, and we're simply going to help him out. We add Spider-Man to the team, painfully replacing my girl Rogue, as I need to expand my mind just a little bit. Until we are told, Spider-Man is permanently on our team and must always be in our hero deck for missions. The current time is 10 a.m. Peter's list of things to do includes seeing Mary Jane, go to work at the Daily Bugle, visit ESU Labs, visit the Nister Foundation, get heart medicine for Aunt May, and meet up with S.H.I.E.L.D. for a secret mission. We decide that Peter needs to be a responsible adult and go to work, picking up Aunt May's medicine on the way home. As soon as you walk into the building, J. Jonah Jameson is already on a tirade. "You're fired, Parker, unless you get me pictures of that menace Spider-Man." Suddenly you hear a loud explosion just outside the Bugle office. J. Jonah Jameson runs back to his office, and the rest of the staff also run and hide. In the confusion, you lose track of Peter as well. As the smoke clears, you see who is responsible for the explosion. Through the smoke, you see none other than the Kingpin, with his jeweled studded cane by his side. "Mr. Jameson, you have published quite enough about me. I've come to give you an offer. You will either give me your company or your life." Moving into setup, we will be taking on the Invade the Daily Bugle News HQ scheme. We will include 8 twists in the villain deck, and adding in 6 extra henchmen from a single henchman group to the hero deck, with the Sentinels being chosen. When we draw a scheme twist, we will KO a hero from the HQ and replace it with the villain with the highest attack value. Once all 5 spaces in the HQ are filled with villains, we lose. We will be taking on Kingpin as the Mastermind, who has 13 HP but also has the bribe mechanic, meaning we can use any combination of recruit and attack to fight him. When we draw a Master Strike, each player will have to reveal a Marvel Knights hero or discard their hand and draw 5 cards. Kingpin will also be aided by the Radiation Villain Group, the Streets of New York, and the Henchemen group, Doombot Legion. Our starting HQ will contain an endless inventory, arc reactor, X-Men United, Ice Slide, and high-tech weaponry. Miles wins the loudest clap competition and starts us off. Miles draws 4 agents, 2 troopers, and then a scheme twist from the villain deck. We will have to KO a card, but since there is no villains in the city, it will not be replaced by one. We decide to KO X-Men United, as I don't think we'll be getting our hands on it anytime soon. It's replaced by Great Responsibility. He plays out and takes a move into the Iceman archetype by recruiting Ice Slide, replacing it with Frostbite Armor. He passes. Harrison draws 4 agents, 2 troopers, and then a Doombot from the villain deck. When we fight a Doombot, we will have to reveal the top 2 cards of our deck and KO one of them. He plays out and then moves into the tech build by recruiting Endless Inventory, replacing it with another copy of Endless Inventory. He passes. Miles draws 4 agents, 2 troopers, and then a Scheme Twist from the villain deck. We now have to KO a hero from the HQ, and at this point, I made the game a bit harder on myself by thinking I had to KO the hero with the highest attack value. Reading the Scheme card explains the Scheme card, but I had the choice of either KOing Frostbite Armor or Arc Reactor, and ultimately I chose Arc Reactor, as I think without Frostbite Armor, Iceman's archetype really fizzles while the tech archetype can survive without Arc Reactor. It is replaced by the Doombot in the sewers. Miles plays out and recruits Endless Inventory, as he wants to avoid Spider-Man cards and leave high-tech weaponry for Miles. It's replaced by Legendary Commander. He passes. Harrison draws 4 agents, 2 troopers, and then a Doombot from the villain deck. He plays out and then recruits high-tech weaponry, replacing it with Web Shooter. He passes. Miles draws 5 agents, Ice Slide, and then a Doombot from the villain deck. He plays out and recruits Frostbite Armor, replacing it with Great Responsibility, and at this point we can't avoid these Spider-Man cards, so we will start taking them. He passes. Harrison draws 2 agents, 2 troopers, Endless Inventory, high-tech weaponry, and then a Maestro from the villain deck. When we fight him, we will KO a hero for each strength hero we have. He plays out 2 troopers and high-tech weaponry to take out the Doombot in the bank. Harrison reveals a trooper and an agent, KOing the agent. He plays an activated Endless Inventory, drawing a trooper and an agent. He plays out and recruits Web Shooter, replacing it with Astonishing Strength. He passes. Miles draws 2 agents, 4 troopers, and then a Master Strike from the villain deck. Since we can't reveal a Marvel Knights hero, each player will discard his hand and draw 5. Miles draws 2 agents, 2 troopers, and Endless Inventory. He plays Endless Inventory, drawing a Frostbite Armor. He plays out and recruits Great Responsibility, replacing it with Legendary Commander. He then fights the Doombot on the rooftops. He then reveals 2 agents from the top of his deck, KOing one of them. He passes. Harrison draws 3 agents, 2 troopers, and then a Doombot from the villain deck. He plays out and recruits Great Responsibility, replacing it with Deep Freeze. He passes. Miles draws 5 agents, a trooper, and then a Doombot from the villain deck. He plays out and then recruits Deep Freeze, replacing it with Repulsory Ray, which he also recruits and replaces it with Endless Inventory. He passes. Harrison draws 1 agent, 2 troopers, Endless Inventory, Web Shooter, Great Responsibility, and then a Scheme Twist from the villain deck. We decided to KO Astonishing Strength and replace it with Maestro, knocking out 2 HQ slots so far, 3 to go. He plays Responsibility, revealing and drawing an agent. He plays Web Shooter, rescuing a news reporter, allowing us to draw an agent when we rescue it. He plays an activated Endless Inventory, drawing 2 agents. He plays out and then recruits Endless Inventory, replacing it with Deep Freeze. He fights the Doombot in the sewers. We reveal a trooper and an agent, KOing a trooper. He passes. Harrison draws 2 agents, a trooper, Frostbite Armor, Endless Inventory, Ice Slide, and then a Doombot from the villain deck. He plays Endless Inventory, drawing an agent. He plays Ice Slide into Frostbite Armor activated, drawing Repulsory Ray. He plays out and is 1 short of fighting Kingpin. He takes out both of the Doombots. With the first trigger, he reveals Deep Freeze and an agent, KOing the agent. For the second trigger, he reveals Deep Freeze and an agent, KOing the agent. He then recruits Deep Freeze, replacing it with Determination. He passes. Harrison draws 4 agents, Endless Inventory, high-tech weaponry, and then a Scheme Twist from the villain deck. We KO Determination, and while there were no villains in the city, there was one on top of the hero deck. It's replaced by a Sentinel, knocking out 3 out of the 5 HQ spots. He then plays high-tech weaponry into an activated Endless Inventory, drawing a trooper and an agent. He plays out, and with nothing else to do, he recruits a shield officer. He passes. Miles draws 2 agents, 2 troopers, Responsibility, Deep Freeze, and then a Master Strike from the villain deck. Neither can reveal, so they both discard and draw 5. Miles draws 2 troopers, responsibility, repulsory ray, and a frostbite armor. Must have been distracted the day I played this, as I drew another card from the villain deck, but of course, as long as I break the rules and it makes it harder for me, then all is well. He draws the leader from the villain deck, which when placed has us draw another card from the villain deck, and we draw a Doombot. He plays responsibility, revealing Deep Freeze, and drawing it. He plays Deep Freeze, drawing a trooper. He plays repulsory ray into frostbite armor, drawing 2. He draws Ice Slide and an agent. He plays out, which includes an activated Ice Slide. He takes the shot and fights Kingpin, drawing Mob War, which has Harrison play a henchman from his victory pile. He puts a Doombot into play. He passes. Harrison draws 2 agents, Web Shooter, Endless Inventory, Responsibility, and then a Doombot from the villain deck. He plays Web Shooter, rescuing a bystander, and then revealing and drawing a trooper. He plays an activated Endless Inventory, drawing 2 agents. He plays Responsibility, revealing and drawing an agent. Playing out would get me 2 damage and 5 recruit, leading to nothing good. So, he passes. Miles draws 3 agents, a trooper, Endless Inventory, Deep Freeze, and then a leader from the villain deck, causing us to draw a Master Strike. Both players discard their hands and draw 5. Miles draws 2 agents, a trooper, Frostbite Armor, and Great Responsibility. He plays Responsibility, revealing and drawing a Deep Freeze. He plays Deep Freeze, drawing Ice Slide. He plays Ice Slide into Frostbite Armor, activated. He draws 2 cards, a Trooper and Endless Inventory. He plays Endless Inventory, drawing an agent. He plays out and takes out all 3 Doombots, being 1 short of fighting Kingpin. First trigger reveals Repulsory Ray and a Trooper, KOing the Trooper. Next one reveals an agent, and we KO it. Third trigger reveals a Deep Freeze, and he ends up KOing Deep Freeze, as Repulsory Ray provides the range card and wants us also to deal damage. He passes. Harrison draws an agent, an officer, Great Responsibility, 2 copies of Endless Inventory, and then a Jigsaw from the villain deck. When it's played, each player will discard 3 cards and draw 2. Harrison discards all but the Endless Inventory and then draws 2 agents. He plays both Endless Inventories, drawing 2 agents and 2 troopers. With not enough to recruit or attack, he passes. Miles draws 3 troopers, Repulsory Ray, Great Responsibility, and then a Scheme Twist from the villain deck. He KOs Legendary Commander and replaces it with Jigsaw. With them starting to sweat, with 4 out of the 5 HQ spots, he plays Responsibility, revealing Ice Slide. He plays out and fights the leader in the bank. He passes. Harrison draws 3 agents, a Trooper, Endless Inventory, High-Tech Weaponry, and then a Hammerhead from the villain deck. When we fight Hammerhead, we have to KO a hero with a recruit symbol. He plays High-Tech into an activated Endless Inventory, drawing an Endless Inventory and an agent. He plays another Endless Inventory activated, drawing an agent and an officer. He plays out and recruits Legendary Commander, replacing it with Spike Armor. He passes. Miles draws an agent, a Trooper, Deep Freeze, Endless Inventory, Ice Slide, Frostbite Armor, and the little hope that was left in Miles' big round eyes is dashed by drawing a Master Strike. They both discard their hands and draw 2 agents, 2 troopers, and a Great Responsibility. He plays Responsibility, revealing and drawing an agent. He plays out and bribes Hammerhead and KOs an agent. He passes. Harrison draws a disappointing hand of 4 agents, Great Responsibility, and then an Abomination from the villain deck. If we fight him in the streets or bridge, we will rescue 3 bystanders. He plays Responsibility, revealing and drawing a Web Shooter. He plays Web Shooter, rescuing a news reporter, allowing him to draw a card. He draws a card and then reveals High-Tech Weaponry. With not enough cards to do anything, he passes. Miles draws 2 agents, a Trooper, Repulsory Ray, Frostbite Armor, Ice Slide, and then a Zax from the villain deck, which when is fought, each player will have to reveal a strength hero or gain a wound. He plays Repulsory Ray and Ice Slide into Frostbite Armor, drawing 2, Deep Freeze, and a Trooper. He plays an activated Deep Freeze and a Draw Responsibility. He plays it, revealing and drawing an agent. He plays out, and he just can't resist that Frostbite Armor, even though it could lead to a Sentinel being pulled. He recruits Icespike Armor, replacing it with Legendary Commander. He then fights an Abomination and Zax, triggering Zax's fight effect. Miles can reveal, but Harrison can't, so he gains a wound. He passes. Harrison draws 2 agents, a Trooper, 2 Endless Inventories, High-Tech Weaponry, and then a Bullseye from the villain deck. When we fight him, we have to KO a hero with a fight symbol, and one with a recruit symbol. He plays High-Tech Weaponry into the 2 Endless Inventories, drawing an agent a trooper, an officer, and a legendary. He plays out and decides to fight Kingpin, hoping to end it before a scheme twist pops up. He draws Criminal Empire. We look at the top 3 cards of the villain deck and end up playing another Bullseye and 2 Doombots. He fights the Doombots in the sewers, revealing an endless inventory and a wound, KOing the wound. He passes. Miles draws 3 troopers, endless inventory, repulsory ray, frostbite armor, and then a Maestro from the villain deck. He plays endless inventory, drawing Ice Slide. He plays repulsory ray and Ice Slide into frostbite armor, drawing an agent and Deep Freeze. He plays Deep Freeze, drawing frostbite armor. He plays frostbite armor, drawing 2 agents and a Great Responsibility. With my whole deck in hand, he plays out and hits Kingpin for the 3rd tactic, drawing Call a Hit, which has no effect as each player discards a pile is empty. He then takes out Maestro, and since we had 2 strength heroes, we will KO 2 cards, which will be 2 agents. He passes. Harrison draws 3 agents, a trooper, responsibility, endless inventory, and then an Abomination from the villain deck. He plays Abomination, drawing endless inventory. He repeats, but is activated, drawing a trooper and a web shooter. He plays Web Shooter, rescuing a standard bystander and revealing a high-tech weaponry. He plays out, and with a sad 3/3, he fights. He reveals high-tech weaponry and an agent. He KOs the agent. He passes. Miles draws 2 troopers, Deep Freeze, Repulsory Ray, 2 Frostbite armor, and with a sigh of relief, a Zax from the villain deck. He plays Deep Freeze, drawing Ice Slide. He then plays out and has enough damage without the card draw to take out Kingpin, winning the game. For anyone curious, the next card was going to be a scheme twist. Luck was heavily on our side this time. As the tide of battle turns to your favor, Spider-Man yells out, "Hey, I know JJ isn't the bad guy, but that's not necessary to kill him." Before anyone is able to react, the room fills with smoke. You may have won today, but nothing will prepare you for what's next. Spider-Man assures, "Okay, big, tall, and scary, I'll bite. What's next? A massacre is coming and it'll be all your fault. I shall say no more." As the smoke clears, the villains are nowhere to be seen. Suddenly, Jameson appears from the corner of the room. "I know this was organized by you, Spider-Man. I know it all. The whole world will know the kind of menace you are. You'll be run out of town." As you and Peter head out, you look at your watch. This took surprisingly less time than you expected. Write down J. Jonah Jameson saved. Advance time by 2 hours. Thank you so much for joining me for this playthrough of Mission 10 of Bageltop's Marvel Legendary Campaign. Make sure to check out the campaign, link in the description. Join me next time, where we will continue to follow the Spider-Man and Agent Harrison as they run errands and save lives. See you next time, and I hope you have a wonderful day.